All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the OS Talk. It's been a while, actually. This is, what's it been, 2-3 weeks since we've actually released a video, so it's been a long time. We actually have Deadbeat with us today. How you doing, Deadbeat?
Slowly getting there.
And our interview guest today is someone that we've actually had on the talk before with other discussions, but now we're bringing the spotlight directly to them. One of our staff managers, p3n. How you doing, man?
No, I'm fine.
All right. And for those that might not know p3n, he's one of our staff managers, longtime member as well. He's kind of been a jack of all trades when it comes to helping in the community. And we'll get into some of that in just a moment here. But obviously, just like every other interview, and you've been here for quite a few of them, I do believe, we've got to give you the christening question as well. What got you into OS, and how did you find out about the game?
My first contact with the game was in 2009, when I read an article, or rather a blog post on infamous post Kotaku, and they were just like linking a video of the Super Mario map, and I just wanted to try it for myself. And so I downloaded the game, played the map, and thought, holy shit, that's exactly like Elite Beat Agents, which I played a few years before on the Nintendo DS.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things is, and I know we're going to get one eventually, one of these interviewees is going to be like, oh, I totally came to OS because of the article on Don't Stop Me Now. And I can't wait for that at some point. But did you ever see the article for Don't Stop Me Now as well? Because that got on quite a few different game websites.
Yeah, that was also on Kotaku, but it was like a year before, in 2008. But I didn't test the game at the time because I was busy with other stuff. So yeah.
What kind of other stuff?
I was actually in university at the time.
Ah. All right. So with that, you kind of found out about the game through the website, but you had prior experience with the game that it was kind of predecessored after, correct?
Yeah. I owned Elite Beat Agents on the DS, and I think it came out in 2007 in the U. And I just bought it in a small store, and I didn't even know what it was. I just liked the cover of the case, and I bought it, and I did play it together with my girlfriend of that time, and I was like totally addicted for about 2 weeks until I got to the hardest mode, the hard rock, and that was about it.
What would you say is your favorite song on there?
I think it was Don't Stop Me Now.
Well, Don't Stop Me Now wasn't on there. Boom.
Was it not?
Nope.
No, it was not.
Was it not the Queen one?
The Queen one on that one was actually Born to Love You.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I'm really bad with song names. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's totally fine.
I just remembered it was a Queen song, and I thought it was Stop Me Now.
No, it was Born to Love You. It was the Mona Lisa episode.
Exactly.
Yeah, that one was actually pretty good too. One of my favorites was probably Destiny Child Survivor, and let's see, that and probably, sorry, Deadbeat, ABC 123, Jackson 5. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't actually remember the Queen song. I remember a lot of them, but I don't remember that one.
Okay, well, here's a little bit of, it wasn't technically a Queen song, it was a Freddie Mercury song, but Freddie Mercury was kind of the lead singer of Queen for quite some time.
Kind of was the voice of Queen.
Yeah, pretty much, so I just kind of slap it in as Queen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much, it was right before Queen kind of got, you know, big, and Born to Love You was a Freddie Mercury song, and it was pretty cool.
Sweet.
Okay, so Deadbeat, I'll let you take the next question.
But yeah, with like any other rhythm games aside from EBA or any other games that you would like to try, rhythm-wise?
Ooh, I have to remember when it was, but I think my first rhythm game ever was Jammer Lammy on PlayStation 1. And I think it was in 1999 when I played it. I was at my aunt and uncle in the US, in Connecticut. And it was like really my first ever rhythm game. And I didn't even know what to expect. And it was really, really hard at the time for me. And if you don't know Jamalami, it was the sequel to Parappa the Rapper.
Oh, I do. That was my childhood. Oh, those games are so good. I don't even care that they were really hard to grasp at first, because they really didn't tell you a whole lot. It was just like, they're going to bust out a funky fresh beat, and then you've got to punch the buttons. And this was one of the few games that actually kind of rewarded you to be a little bit creative in how you punch the buttons. Like, because, yeah, if you just mimicked exactly everything they did, that would keep you in good. But if you wanted to get into the cool rating, you had to mix that stuff up.
Yeah, and you also had like the solos, the guitar solo. If you did really, really well and you had like a few seconds to completely go nuts, and the game would rate you on how well you kept the rhythm and how complex your patterns were while you were doing it. And you could just go freestyle, and it was really, really cool.
Yeah, I actually managed to, on the original Parappa the Rapper, stay in cool through the entire final song, which might not seem like that big of a deal because there's only 6 songs in the game. But dear God, was it hard to even get into cool.
Yeah, I never actually finished Parappa. I tried it after playing Jamalami, and I finished Jamalami on the hardest difficulty, but there were no real difficulty settings. You just had to get above a certain score threshold, and I didn't finish Parappa, and I don't know why. I think I always failed on the haircut song.
Oh, that's Parappa too.
Yeah.
The first one, the bathroom song, was really hard to beat. But what about some of the newer rhythm games? Like, you've talked about some of the older ones. Is there anything new in the music scene, like in rhythm games in general, that you've saw but you haven't really gotten a chance to play around with yet that you'd like to?
I did fail miserably playing DDR in an arcade. That's one for sure. I didn't really ever get into Dance Dance Revolution.
Oh man,
and
that is my stuff.
I know. I tried it in the arcade, and it was quite fun, but I never had enough time to practice or get good at anything like that.
I'm still I'm an old fag when it comes to the DDR cabinets. Like, our old Namco arcade that we had out here used to have Supernova and Supernova 2, but they also had Third Mix. And Third Mix was all like the older songs, and I have almost every step chart for Third Mix like memorized. Like, if you put the song there, my feet could probably move in the patterns they need to, just off like how often my mom would send me there with like $30 every weekend, and I just literally sit at the Namco arcade and just play DDR on $30. I'd just go through $30 on DDR alone.
Right. Yeah, I tried to get into these kind of games with Mania. You probably know that one.
Mm-hmm.
But I never really got into it using my keyboard, and I never owned a DDR pad to do it like the cabinet style, the arcade style.
Well, I would say if you ever were like interested in that, go with the steel pads. I know they're expensive, but you don't want the little flat like squish pads that they come with the game. Those things get tore up like instantly.
I tried it once at a friend's house for the Wii a few years back, and it wasn't really responsive at all. Every time I tried to morph the harder difficulties, it would just not recognize all the steps you're doing, depending
most definitely.
Depending on what kind of surface you had it on. So we tried it on like a hard surface, and it was better, but if you tried it on the carpet, it just wouldn't work at all sometimes. But yeah, for the newer games, I think like the more Western style ones, like Guitar Hero and Rock Band.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a few great sessions on Rock Band, like with a guitar and the drum set and one person singing. It was pretty cool.
Which one's your favorite though, when playing Rock Band?
I must admit, I was best using the drum set, But I was also decent at the guitar because when I was younger, when I was a kid, I actually played the guitar and the drums. So I had experience with the real instruments in both areas, but the drum sets on Rock Band were really, really easy to play, for me at least.
I had that really annoying thing when playing like Rock Band and stuff, where I'd always be on the guitar, and if I tried to like play the song properly, I would botch it so badly. But if I didn't think, I'd be perfectly fine.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to get like super technical here, but I always felt that Rock Band's latency and delay on the notes for the guitar in specific were subpar at best when put up against like when what were they called? What was the name of that company before they got bought out? Harmonix. When Harmonix did the first two Guitar Hero games, like the amount of detail and like the timing for those were just super solid. And you know, as the Rock Bands came out, more and more songs got charted, and they were talking like, I mean, they kept their promise. They literally had like a new album every week. But the problem with it is I think they got rushed out and the quality for them kind of suffered. I mean, they did have to do an audio track for the karaoke. They had to do the drum track, and they also have to do the guitar track, which isn't by any means easy, but you could definitely see that at least in the very beginning song packs, I don't know if it ever improved. I didn't really follow Rock Band that far, to be honest, but the very beginning packs, they were just really, it was really bad, like really disconnected, and it didn't really feel like you were playing it. Not to mention the Rock Band guitars sucked.
Oh yeah, it did. Guitar Hero 1 was way, way better.
Yeah. Like,
see, with the amount of knowledge that Z-Truck comes out with, I sometimes picture him at his keyboard just like googling all these random facts and just like making it look like he knows all this random stuff about all these rhythm games.
Oh no, I'm just a nut about rhythm games. I don't look up the facts or anything. It's just like me and my friends, like I'd literally, back when I was younger, I'd come home from school and we'd all just sit in my basement and we'd like rock out on like Guitar Hero or whatever it was. I mean, I still remember the day when I got a full 5-star full combo on Through the Fire and Flames on Expert. That was like the best accomplishment in like my music game life. I still don't think, I mean, I've probably done stuff that's harder on OS and standard, but nothing comes, I didn't feel nearly as accomplished when I beat really hard stuff on OS. When it comes to Guitar Hero though, when I beat Through the Fire and Flames on Legends of Rock, the third one, and I got the full 5 stars, and at first I thought I dropped during one of the hammer-on sections, and he's like, no, dude, you didn't drop at all. Holy crap. And we just went nuts.
Yeah, I never even came close to 5 stars.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, I played that game like religiously. Like the My Chemical Romance packs, I could play all those songs behind my back. Just all I need to do is see the first note, and then I could turn around.
Yeah, I got to the point where I could kind of play medium.
Oh no, I was playing expert on everything.
Yeah, I didn't get very far.
Oh yeah.
Knights of Syndonia was a fantastic Guitar Hero chart. And that's one of the cool things about rhythm games. And I guarantee you, everybody that's here that's somewhat decent at the rhythm games that they play, when they show it off to their friends, like the look of amazement on their friend's face, and then you yourself are like, this is simple, and they're like, how are you doing that? And that's just a really cool feeling that rhythm games kind of have. It's kind of a niche game genre. It's not as widely accepted as other things. So when, you know, like mainstream people that have only played like, you know, your action adventure games or your puzzle games, and they see a music game, and then they see someone doing it so skillfully, which we as a community might not find it as skillful as some other people do. Because like when I go around and I showcase those off to like just normal people or family or friends, they definitely just give me this dumb stare of amazement.
Yeah, I get that a lot when I play Ost for friends or when they want to see what it's about. And I'm not even that good. I have a weird playstyle, and maybe that's what makes it look even better than it actually is. I consider myself to be like very mediocre.
I had like a similar thing a few years ago where I was showing off to a bunch of people, and I was playing like these AR8 maps I think it was that were like quite stream heavy. Friend could not keep up at all. Had no idea how I did it.
And then it's like you're like, oh yeah, this is easy because it is easy to you. But then you think in the back of your head, man, if they stayed on this game for like a month or so, they might pass me.
Actually, many people did in the past.
Yeah. The sad truth.
Okay, well, moving on from the rhythm game discussion there. So what got you into mapping on Oz? And within that, did you get right into modding as well, or did you map a little bit and then you decided to mod? How did that work out for you?
At first I was just playing, and I think I started mapping in 2010, and I just tried the editor, wanted to learn how to use it, and one of the guys from the German community with the name of Moonshade, he actually helped me a lot to get a feel for the editor and how all the different functions really played into one another, like the distance time relation of the distance snapping, that it's really easy to construct your own maps without actually having to know how to play them. And that was the first step for me into like the broader world of mapping. And when I decided to upload my first map, like almost 1 year later, I also started to mod, because back then you needed like a lot of stars to even get your map noticed at all. And it was rather easy to get stars for like little mods. And after a while I just found that while modding maps that I really liked, I got attached to them, so everything I did was like I did it for my own map. So I really wanted those maps to succeed. And that's why my mods became even more detailed, and I included pictures and drawings and tried to explain how I felt this map could be improved on a gameplay basis. Not so much technical stuff, but mostly my mods were about how to improve gameplay, and then in the second part, how to improve like the visuals of a map to make it just look better. And that was the start of my like modding career. And yeah, my first map, I was really lazy about my own uploaded maps, and my first map got ranked after it was about 1 year in pending. It was even, I think, more than a year. And while I tried to get that map ranked, I got like about 200 Kudosu in that 1 year alone.
Wow.
And that's not the most, or not even very much for like active modding. But during that time I met so many cool people in the modding and mapping community. Like, for instance, Garvin, who actually ranked my first map. Thanks for that, buddy. He was like a role model back then. And I also met Cardin Force, so two of the pretty older members of the
Force was amazing.
Of the Bats.
We need him back so badly.
Yeah, we definitely need him back. He was always so much fun to talk to, and I spent like many nights just chatting with him and trying new stuff. And
he was such a cool guy. He really was.
And he was also so very open to new stuff. He always tried to do things out of the box. And he even experimented a lot with things outside of the boundaries of like the ranking criteria.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he helped me tons to improve my modding, and also inspired me to even try out stuff like storyboarding, which I think I'm pretty decent at.
I think one of the really cool things about him was the fact that a lot of modders tend to enjoy modding like someone's maps if they know the person and they know the map, their mapping style, and all that sort of stuff. Cardinal Force he didn't really tend to go to those maps. He tended to go to the people who had no idea what they were doing and walk them through it, and it was really cool.
Yeah, that was probably one of the reasons I even got to know him in the first place, because I certainly did not know whatever I was doing back then.
Oh, I had the same issue. I had no idea what I was doing, and it was really embarrassing.
Yeah, and people usually tend to ask me, why do you only have like 1 or 2 ranked maps and not many maps in the graveyard, like 5 or 6?
5 and 2 ranked.
Yeah, I usually have to tell them I did map a lot, and by a lot I mean a lot. I have like 120 partly mapped songs or map sets, and I just never uploaded them because I was never satisfied. I usually started mapping a song I really liked, and during the mapping process I usually was not very confident in what I was doing, or I just thought this is not as good as I'd like it to be, and this I never bothered to upload it at all, because the only times I really did upload maps and went through the ranking process were for my first map and for a map I did for Moonshade's birthday a few years back, because I just had to rank it to, like make it a present. And most of my other sets just got abandoned because every time I came back to them, I always thought there's so much room for improvement, and I just don't have the skills or the right ideas to make it happen, to make it special. It always had to be something special, and I just mostly couldn't do it. They were okay, I guess some of them were pretty good, but it's not something I personally wanted to pursue.
That's something that actually comes into mind when you're a mapper that's released as much content as like myself or Andrea or Lardo or any of those people. What ends up happening, and the reason why I probably have so many pending, well, they're not even pending maps, they're just maps that have like either like the Insane done or like Part of the Hard or just a chunk. And I think what happens is with my case, you were always worried about like what how the quality was, obviously, from saying that, you always want to make sure it exceeded your expectations or you did the song justice. Well, what happened for me is I kind of came into the same type of situation, except I managed to go way above and beyond what I felt that I could do for a song, and it worked out so well. I mean, it literally almost won Map of the Year. It was in second place for 2010, and that was La Di Da.
I was gonna guess that one.
Yeah, I literally feel like ever since that map, everything I've done outside of it, I mean, yeah, I've come pretty far and I've made some new changes, and I could definitely say that quality is probably improved on my end, but just the like raw awesome that map was, and just how it complemented that song, I don't think you can do that twice. I think that's kind of like bottled lightning. You get that one shot.
And to be honest, that lightning never struck me on one of my maps. I have some I'm pretty fond of, but never one of the maps I would think this is the best you could do at that time. And you have to upload it, you have to share it, you have to rank it. That never actually happened. I came close a few times, but
when I made the Insane for that, I wasn't even gonna upload it because I made it in a night, and I was like, wow, this is really cool, but it's doing a lot of stuff that people would probably yell about. And then I think it was actually Remy X25 was like, oh, you should just send it over and let me try it. And he's like, oh my god, this is so good. And he hated everything.
Oh, like, yes, he did.
So like when he said this is so good, I'm like, huh, maybe I should upload it. And then I uploaded it, and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I had like 3 guest difficulties almost instantly. Everybody's like, oh my god, that Insane's so good. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm actually going to make it a set. And then the community made it a set for me. So
Yeah.
Well, that works.
I really didn't have a choice in that matter. They're like, come on, you got to make at least one more difficulty. You can do it. And I mean, it turned out all good. But moving forward, you kind of already answered the subsection of that third question, so there's no need to actually go over that.
Do you think you'll actually upload any of the maps that you've worked on?
I might in the future, because I think I'll have a bit more time to get back into the process of mapping and modding, just to get a better feel for the changes inside the community. And thus I hope to achieve maybe another 2, 3, or 5 ranked map sets on my own.
Good luck.
Yeah. Luck is all I need.
All right. So we're going to get on to the little bit more of the pressing issue stuff here towards the end here. So for those that follow the inner workings of the community and the staff and how everything goes, this might be a little bit more interesting for you instead of just talking about music games. So our first question in this line is, did you enjoy being a part of the BAT? When you got first added there? Was that an enjoyable? And I want you to be honest, because I can honestly say there was times where I definitely did not feel like being a BAT was very enjoyable. So, I'm all ears to hear how your thoughts on the experience was.
Yeah, I would say it was kind of a mixed bag. But overall, when I think about it, when all is said and done, I think I did enjoy it in the end. There were lots of problems back then. Like, when I became a BAT, it was like Christmas 2012, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the mapping assistance team in the MAT like a year before. And back then we had lots of problems, like inactive members and lots of inactive members. Sometimes it seemed like the majority of the members in this group were just inactive.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. That was back when we used the scaling color system, too, so you could tell who was actually doing stuff and who wasn't.
Most people were just like a pale orange.
Yeah. Me and Andrea would sit there and fight each other on who was darker red.
Yeah. I remember that. And one of the more pressing problems back then, I think, personally, was we had no real sense of direction. There was no one left to properly lead us, It was okay. Dereku was kind of the one who should be doing this. I think.
I love Dereku to death, but after we kind of ran Pasonia off, and we basically did at that point. I mean, to be quite honest, this is getting back into some ancient OS history here, folks, but. For those that might know, for those that if you've even been around long enough to know that, Pasonia was our BAT manager after Ivelset was relieved. And what had happened there is it kind of worked at first, and then everybody, and I feel like this is something that should still possibly come up, not in the same way that we did it before, but everybody pretty much the BAT team never agreed on anything. Let's get that out there. We agreed, but when it came down to the really pressing stuff, everybody would always be scrambled. And the only time I ever seen a unification of the team was when they're Pasonia's got to go.
Yeah.
Oh god, really? Was that the only thing you guys ever agreed on?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Also,
it was.
Just to quick interrupt, October 21st, welcome to the Matt Pen. December 2012, 15th, welcome to the BAT Pen.
Yeah, it used to be, there is a period before that. I was offered a position in the MAT before that, and I politely declined, because back then I thought that the discrepancies in the ranking system were too big for me to actually make a change. And I was one of the people always only bitching about it, but never actually doing anything about it. And one day I had a really, really long talk with Card and Force. And after that, I thought that all the bitching will never lead to anything. And if I'm not happy about the stuff that's going on, I should just try to change it. And that's what I did. And that's why I just accepted it a second time.
Yeah, and speaking of how you changed it there, we're going to get a little bit further down the history of p3n here. And then, so you had some time as a bat there for a little bit, and then after a while, you got promoted to a bat manager. Now, this was really close towards the transition before the new system kind of hit, so it was kind of, in my opinion, short-lived. I feel like maybe you probably should have had some more time to see if you guys could iron that out, but what did you feel like that, like experience-wise? I know that there's stuff that is touchy and shouldn't be talked about, but as much as you can release, how would you say that was? Like,
ooh, yeah, that's a difficult one because I was only in the bat for about 1.5 years before that, and back then the bat managers were like on a roll. So we had 3 bat managers for each of the bigger regions, like one from the Americas, one for Europe, and one for Asia. Mm-hmm. And they would constantly be changed after a not really agreed on period of time, if you remember correctly. So when it was time to change some of them, I think it was KSHR from Japan, Charles, and myself, who were the last 3 bat managers.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's definitely right, but I could definitely kind of push on that. I remember that it was set to be quarterly, but it never really turned out to be quarterly.
Yeah, that's why I said it was an indefinite time frame, because no one really bothered to actually check it or change it.
I definitely was I was definitely looking at it through how you're looking at it at the mat. I was definitely bitching about that quite a bit myself, but I never actually took the time to do anything with it myself either, so I really didn't have anyone to blame but myself with that.
Yeah, but going back to how it was being on the bat managers, I have to say at first it was just awful. It was just tedious, because all we had to do, and what our lovely staff manager at that time made us do, was go through all the post histories of all the bats to check their attendance and their activity. And it was just so bad. It was like, okay, here you have 2 days, go through the posts of the last month and determine who was active and who wasn't. That was the time when the activity requirements of the bats have been around for a few months, and no one really liked it, the way it was handled. And around that time, I had a few talks with Loctaf, and he always wanted to revamp the system, and he asked Charles, KSHR, and myself for input, how we could do it. And that was the moment the new concept to handle this problem and to change the ranking process, and especially our problems with inactive bats and the slowness of the whole process, and how we could address them. And yeah, that was when the outline of the new ranking system was born, I believe.
Yeah, and it was quite a drastic change, most definitely. From someone coming from the very beginning all the way up to this point now. At first, like any person that's stuck by a project for a long time, when a drastic change like that happens, I think my first reaction probably was, no, this will destroy everything, yada yada, something along these lines.
You were not alone. You were not alone, my friend.
Yeah. But, I mean, as time went on, I looked into it, and it's getting there. It's getting there. One thing I'd like to point out, and I've pointed it out in any kind of discussion, anytime we come anywhere near this subject, I like to point this out, because even today I got I was talking with a mapper. Actually, they wanted me to take a look at their map. Pixel R was the name, and they had a little simple, 40-second opening, nothing too fancy. But I looked at the normal and the easy, and I noticed that they looked really cluttered and ugly and underpolished, and it looked like they literally had just, kept to distance snap the entire time. And then what was told to me after this, after I, said, oh, I mean, the Insane looks amazing, because the Insane does. It looks incredibly polished. And then I'm like, but the easy and normal just kind of look, And he's like, well, see, the modders told me that you have to keep the map in distance snap the entire time. And this is a rule. And that's where we're...
No.
Exactly. And that's where we're having problems. And I think that's where this new system is going to eventually iron all that out, because one of the biggest things for the longest time that we haven't had is like a clear cut. Like, of course, there's people that follow the guidelines as rules, and we've never told them that that's the wrong thing to do.
There are also people who follow the rules as kind of guidelines and ignore the guidelines.
Yes, completely, and I think, separating those two and giving like a pure, like putting it on a graph, like a checklist almost, where you have so many checks that are on the guideline thing. iMod kind of does this now a little bit. When you check into it, it's like, hey, these things can potentially be issues, but we're not going to say they're actually issues. And I think if that gets refined to a further point, especially with how we've been reworking that might, eventually be something that could be used.
Yeah, but no one has touched iMod in years, and yes, I think we are at the point where our list we came up with many years ago with stuff we wanted to see in iMod should be implemented rather sooner than later. But yeah, as you said, the rules, the ranking criteria itself was also one of the big discussion points when I was in the bad managers, and back then we tried to make the changing of rules and the whole appearance of the ranking criteria a bit easier. Mm-hmm. And especially we tried to simplify the points, because some of the points are like doubled or almost doubled. Some of them are not really needed anymore or at all. And while we try to do that in a more open way, try to discuss it with all the bets and everything, and even normal community members, we failed horribly in this regard, because it was getting just nowhere.
Well, I wouldn't say that it was getting nowhere. I just feel that the problem with it is like when the rule forum thread came up and the ability for people to set up the rules and whatnot, I think the problem is there was no real deciding factor there, and anyone that was on the GMT, the BAT, or an admin at that point in time could go and look at any of these suggested guidelines or rules and then just amend them. And I don't want to step on people's toes, but we had a few members in the past that really didn't think their amendments through. It was actually pretty obvious when an amendment was made that contradicted the rule that was made previously before it, and I blew up about that. That's like the only post in that thread I have, because I was just like, no, you can't do that. You can't say you can't use short version, but then you must use official title. What if the official title...
I remember that. Yeah. That was like so much bullshit if you look back at it. If you just read through all the posts and try to make a mental map of what was actually said and when it was said and how it was amended and when it was amended, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, it was
at all.
It was musical chairs with rules, basically.
Yeah.
And that's when I finally, as a mapper, I just and I feel like a lot of mappers probably did this. I just literally started sticking to my gut, and if people wanted to pop up and go, hey, this technically isn't right. I'd give them a big old wall of text as to why it was okay. And that's the best I could do as a mapper, you know?
Yeah. And that's one of the aspects I think has to drastically change going forward in the ranking process, because right now everything is kind of in an in-between state between an old system that did rely heavily on like really only community work, only people who have like experience in mapping and ranking maps and modding maps to decide on what will be approved, and a newer system that we may or may not even design ourselves as a community, or in the end maybe Peppy decides he will do it on his own, in his own way. We still don't know that, and that's why we are doing everything we are doing right now. The whole thing is like a big beta test. It's
Thank you.
If we can come up with a solution as a community to improve the process and to implement it into the game as an integral part, to have modders and maybe even mappers, and especially people like we used to call them bats, now they're BNs. Those people should be like an integral part of the game, not only inside the forum or even only a sub-forum, but like everywhere, you know? It should be, or it could be implemented like MMO style, experience points, titles, everything. It could be done. We just have to get there. We have to test and we have to try new things. And that's where the new system comes in. And that's what the whole purpose is.
Yeah, I'd just like to get this moving a little bit. Because like you guys have been talking about, there have been a lot of changes from the old bat system to the current BN one. Are you happy with a lot of the changes that have come out so far?
I'm happy that at least anything changed at all. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm happy about. I'm not happy about the state, because we know that the current state of the system is nowhere near finalized, and it's nowhere near perfect. We never claimed that, and it will probably take still some time, quite some time, to iron out all the flaws and to get it into a state where we can say we are pretty happy how everything works.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as it can be accepted by the community, we think it will be a great step forward. Because if it is an integral part of the game, like the ranking process and modding is actually something that's like a sub-meta in the game, I think it could work. You know, make it fun, make it rewarding, not just make it tedious.
Are you trying to set like a deadline to when you'd have like a lot of these sort of things like ironed out, or do you have no idea when it'll be done?
Well, I can kind of help with that question a little bit.
Yes, you probably can, but I don't know if you should.
Well, I feel like this kind of, we can bundle this and get into the community questions real quick, because we've kind of went over almost an hour with just this. I kind of feel
45 minutes.
I kind of figured that this would happen, to be quite honest, because there's just a lot of stuff to talk about when it goes into that. But now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of merge this into a question that kind of answers what he just went into as well. First off, the thing is p3n is in a state, as we said before, to where he can help with this kind of stuff now. He was promoted not too long ago to staff manager, and he's been doing an excellent job and has been working on this system and trying to help get it all fixed up. But in terms of release, like he said, you need to look at it as a beta test. And with it being a beta test, there's lots of kinks and bugs that are going to be found and ironed out. And as you can see, like as time moves forward, there have been some adjustments to the already system that's kind of put up. And I'll let you get back to how. So that answers it, and then we just need to know what you felt like when you got onto the staff manager stuff, because we've pretty much touched everything else too.
Ooh, yeah. I guess you know, but for everyone else, me being in the staff manager group isn't really like a real staff management like Lactaf is doing, or Ephemeral, or even now Zetrot. It's more or less a continuation of my bad manager role. Because when we rolled over into the new system with the QAT and the bad manager group was disbanded. Mostly because Case HR didn't have much time to do the job anymore, and Charles was nowhere to be found. And so the upper staff just decided we don't need the bad managers anymore. The staff managers will handle the QAT, and the QAT kind of handle the bad. And that's when I was still in the process of like co-developing the new system and the formulas and everything, and the back then upcoming new BUT ranking, because we wanted to do like a first step into the direction I just mentioned, to like get rewards for the bats, not only like have infractions for being inactive and stuff like that, don't have it all negative, but to give them a way to actually compare to each other and to maybe give them something in return for doing extraordinarily well in a month. And back then, everything I did, because I wasn't a bad manager anymore, I was just member of the quality assurance team. For everything I wanted to change, I had to either ask Ephemeral or Loctef, and both were always so pissed because they were busy with their own stuff. And every day, this idiot would come up and tell them, oh, can you change this? Can you change that? Can you invite this person? Can you kick that person? And after some time, they were just fed up, I guess, and they were looking into how to grant me those rights to do it myself. And
I know that feeling.
that was when my name suddenly turned piss yellow.
Yeah.
I feel like the odd one out.
No, because I mean, like, Penn's definitely got a point. Like, at the beginning of this interview, when he said, you have to, like, really not just bitch about it and actually provide a solution. I think I had been barking up the yellow tree for quite some time. I mean, it was pretty obvious there for a while. But I think it was finally when I started, like, you know, suggesting, like, ideas for helping the system and ways that you could give rewards, and rewards that wouldn't be just, like, over the top broken either. I don't know if we should go into any of the stuff that we're thinking about. I think that should probably be saved for later when we come to a more clearer agreement. But it's definitely being worked on.
Yeah, so maybe to conclude all that, I never really aspired to be part of a bad or even bad manager or staff manager. It just happened over time because of the stuff I was doing in the background. You know, all the projects I was working on, they kind of led to me being in this group right now and to me handling the stuff I'm handling right now.
And
Awesome.
real quick, just to wrap it up, how did you get roped into helping manage the tournaments?
Because don't start on that one, please.
Okay,
don't.
Okay.
Oh, that's I could maybe a short version.
Super short TLDR version,
yeah.
So these guys can get their questions out.
I did help in the very early tournaments as a referee, handling the matches themselves. And that worked so well that some people who are responsible for the tournaments actually said, yeah, you have to be around for all of them. Congratulations.
Well played.
Well played, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for answering those questions there, Penn. And thank you so much for dealing with the long tangents that we went on. But now we're going to go ahead and get to the community questions. Now, this is your guys' spotlight now, no longer
the interesting
ours.
part.
Yes. Double ums there. If you have any questions, go ahead and send them to me now. If you want to speak your question aloud, just pop me a PM and let me know that you want to do that. Okay. All right, so it seems like we've got someone who's not using the PM, but I'll go ahead and give it to him anyways. Troy wants to go ahead and ask a vocal question, so we'll go ahead and give him talk power. There you go, Troy.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey.
It's going all right.
I'm just wondering if you believe in ghosts.
No.
Oh no, it's a ghost.
No ghost.
Ow.
Well, alright then.
All right, so obviously Pin fears he ain't scared of no ghosts.
I'm afraid of no ghosts, no.
All right. Okay, so if anyone else has any questions, feel free to, if you don't want to speak them aloud, just feel free to type them. Okay. And it looks like True Noodle also has a spoken question. We'll go ahead and give them talk power now. And here you go, good sir. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay. Have you? This is Os. Have you played all the modes? And if you have, which one do you prefer, and which one are you good at?
I have played all the modes, and obviously I prefer the standard mode because that's what I kind of grew up with in the game. But I also really enjoy playing Taiko, even if I'm pretty terrible at it. And I also enjoy playing 4K Mania, and occasionally some Catch the Beat, especially during the World Cup, like right now. But yeah, I would say that standard is by far my favorite mode, because it reminds me of like my gaming roots with twitchy shooters like Counter-Strike. It's like very precise mouse movements, and I'm a mouse player, mouse only, and that's what I enjoy.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that question, True Noodle. We also have another question. This one is a written question by, and I apologize if I butcher your name, but Diamer asks, what do you think about the implementation of a reward system for mappers? Do you think this could possibly increase the quality of mapping or decrease it?
It's actually, I think, pretty hard to add more rewards than we already have, at least not in the current state of the overall system. We do have the mapping contests where mappers can participate and actually win cool stuff and get custom user titles, and their winning maps will be featured in the standard download of the OS client. And that's pretty much like the highest form of recognition you could get as a mapper right now, in my opinion. As for regular mapping, I think that the ranking of a map, which is widely considered as like normal or the norm, should actually be considered as you get rewarded for being an awesome mapper. Because we, or rather everyone on the staff, will carry your map into a pool of maps that are officially supported, because it's officially high enough quality to be a map for the game. And I actually don't know how to implement more rewards for mappers than getting their maps ranked right now. So I couldn't come up with anyone or any reason or any meaningful way to do that right now.
No, they just need to bring back the old mapper ranking system. Boom.
Isn't there also rewards if your map is on the ranking charts as well?
No.
There used to be, but it's not anymore.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it here and it says we will also reward the top beat map in each category by providing 1 month of supported status to the mapper.
Yeah, that used to be back when there was, like, you know, more people taking part in the charts, and it was kind of an incentive to get the charts going, but charts are still
What?
something
Wait.
that just...
But I read that on the March 2015 announcement.
For...
Maybe Lactaf is doing it again. I don't really know. I know that he revamped the chart teams recently, a
Yeah,
week
so-
ago.
So this might be possible. That might be a possible reward thing coming back. Then that's something to look
Yeah,
forward to.
it's
maybe.
it's possible. But like integral to the game as part of a automated reward system, I personally can't come up with an idea right now. I can
think-
maybe think about it again. Like Ziprat said, the mapper ranking could be an idea.
Oh man, that is what drove me back in the day.
I think one thing that might be kind of cool, but might be a bit too over the top, is if your map is voted number 1 overall at the end of the year, you get mapper of the year or something.
I think we already have like the elite mapper title.
Yeah, I was
attached
saying something
to
like
the-
similar to that, but slightly
Yeah.
different.
Slightly different. Okay. I just take notes. You know, I take notes. I take notes.
All right. Well, we have a few other questions here as well. Master Neutral asks, what do you think was the best year for mapping in standard mode?
2009. Obviously.
I want to say 2010.
Because it had the most Shinxin maps.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from now. Oh boy, I'm
There's
still
even
gonna
no
say 2010.
contest. There's
Yeah,
no
I'm
contest. We
still
don't
gonna
need to
say
discuss
2010.
it. We don't need to discuss it.
I would say
Alright,
2010 as well, personally, but that's just because that's probably like when all my like the majority of my mapping friends that I had on the game, like that's when everybody had pretty much figured out that hey, we got a pretty good grip on how this does, and like 2010 was like the year of the collab.
Yeah.
Like, and it was just really fun, like a lot
In the year of
really-
Bad Apple.
Yeah, a lot of
Oh, yeah. By the way, guys, like seriously, if you haven't played Shinsen's maps, you should go play them. Even today, they are still amazingly good and fun to play.
Yes.
They aged so well.
They are like almost perfect.
Yeah. Like, I still play some of them, like Welcome to the Club and Fire. So good.
All right, and then we have another question. This is a written question, again from Random Gamer LV. What is your target when playing OS beat maps and getting ranks on them?
Phew. I don't really play for ranks. I never did. I usually just try to get an SS. And my accuracy is pretty good, I'd say. And I actually consider a map as being passed if I full combo it. So just getting an A kinda in my head counts as failing the map. And I really feel bad about it.
I like how you say that, and I'm looking at your recent activity, and the first 3 entries are A's.
Yes, it's because I was drunk and it was multiplayer. And it was like at 3 a.m. Don't judge me on that.
All
Well
right.
played.
Thank you so much for that question, and we're moving on. We have another written question. This question comes from Mario Star X. They say, how do you see your future as part of us?
Yeah. Right now I'm focusing on the current main project, which is the real-time implementation of our ranking system, like the p3n ranking.
Mm-hmm.
And this will be roughly one half of the final stage of the beta test of the ominous modding version 2. And if it works like we intended to work, it should be pretty good and pretty
Yeah.
badass.
I don't want to sound bad. I don't want to discourage or freak anybody out, but I just do want to say this because we see a lot of people like, oh, they're just doing this because they want to destroy Mapper's spirit, or they're just doing. Trust us, we've seen an alternative to this, and that's why we're trying so hard to make this work, because I don't think anybody likes the alternative, which we will not say just to freak you out. Even though I said I didn't want to freak you out.
I was about to say we just shouldn't spook them at all, because the alternative is probably something you don't want to see.
No. God, no. Yep. Let the speculation hype train begin.
Oh yeah.
Alright, anyways, thank you so much for that question, Wario Star X. Let's go ahead and move over to our next one.
I think we could probably
Alright.
get 2 more, including this one.
All right. And the next written question here comes from Ikutaru. That's what I'm going with. Ikutaru. I don't know, but they're like, "What's your favorite anime, Pen?"
Oh.
Can I guess Toradora?
No. My favorite one would be one from my childhood, and that's Saber Rider and the Starsharers. Go look it up.
Oh wow.
Yes, I am old.
Yeah, well, see, no, I know that too. That's why I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah, when I was like in grade school, like first or second grade, that was the one I was getting up early for, to just watch 2 of the episodes and then go to school.
I remember when Card Captors very first came out. Well, at least
Oh, boy.
dub. And people were like, "What is this?" And I was like, "This is amazing." I mean, I used to watch Toonami and all that stuff. I grew up on all that. At least over here in the States, that was our only form of anime that we had. Only form was Toonami
We
on
had-
Cartoon Network.
Yeah, over here we had Toonami and Adult Swim, and that was about it.
Well, see, they didn't have Adult Swim way back when I was a wee little lad, and when they finally did have Adult Swim, like, I fell in love with it because Cowboy Bebop, and I was just like, oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't see Cowboy Bebop, but I definitely did see stuff like Pinch Brothers and Space Ghost.
Yep.
Stuff
That
was weird.
and,
Stuff was very weird.
they had Cowboy Bebop, they had Outlaw Star, Trigun. Oh, man. Bunch of old... really
Trigun
games.
was really fun.
You know,
Tri-
back
Go ahead.
then, they weren't even called anime in Germany. We had so many of them on regular TV, but they were not called that. They had like German opening and ending songs and completely changed, or sometimes completely changed storylines and different names and anything. They didn't even resemble the Japanese originals at all. But it was around, I think, 1997 or 1996 when Neon Genesis Evangelion was new and the hypest thing ever on the planet. That they were calling
Zetrot,
it
I'm pretty sure
anime.
Zetrot's still hyping about that one, actually.
Yep.
Dude, I stayed up in my school days because they were airing it at 2 a.m. in the morning in original Japanese with subtitles. And I was like recording all the episodes on VHS. Yeah, on cassette tapes. Most people don't even remember what this is.
VHS. Oh man.
VHS was my stuff. I still have, I literally, because I'm so old, I have all of the first, second, third, and fourth seasons of Dragon Ball Z, all on VHS.
I remember
Get on
trying
my
to.
level?
I remember trying to like record stuff on VHS, and it would always end up overwriting information in previous recordings.
Yeah, that's
So
kinda-
painful.
that's
really
kinda what they
was.
did.
Yeah, but
Alright.
that was about the time when they even started calling it anime, and yeah, that was like one of the last shows I actually watched, and I couldn't even watch anime for a few years, and the first series I actually did watch after many years was Toradora, and
Boom.
it was pretty cool.
There we go. Anyway, I think we'll get one more question done and then call it a wrap.
Yep, and it's our last question at the moment. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, we have one other person that has a spoken question and one that has a written one, so we'll go through them both real quick. I know you wanted to wrap it up in one, but I feel like that's the best we could do at this point. Were there actually times you'd ever considered dropping and playing / managing OS or whatsoever?
Like 100 times maybe. I don't know. A few times, yeah. Because some of the stuff I've been doing in the past was so time consuming, and I usually just don't do stuff I can only do half-assed. So I rather do it like with all I can do or not at all.
All right. And guys, we're actually probably going to cut it there. I just realized the time. Okay, and thank you so much, Pin, for coming out. And thank everybody else for their questions as well today. That's going to be all from this episode of the O's Talk. And remember, rhythm's only a click away, and we'll see you all real soon.
don't forget,
Bye.
guys, that don't forget you can send us ideas and stuff for future episodes. Just let myself or Detroit know, or post it in the thread, which is in general discussions, and we'll have a look when we can.
All right.
Yeah! Woo!
Yeah.
Okay, we're done.
Yep.